Hello and welcome to the Ealing sales update for the month of November with Richard Aves.
And Mark Goodeve-Docker, coming to you from the heart of Ealing, the new inn pub, because today it was snowing a gale.
As always, going across the top of the screen, you are going to be seeing each of the property types and their sold prices with the variations for last month and then also for year to date for the Ealing area.
Across the top of the screen, you'll see that the asking prices year to date have been slowly declining, but the actual prices agreed have remained stable from the beginning of the year.
But the bit that we want to focus on for this month is actually going back on what we discussed last month, which is the transaction volumes of how much is actually being sold every single month in the area. We got a whole load of feedback coming in from our last video asking us about these numbers and as to whether or not they were reflective of the wider market in West London. So we've gone off and done a little bit of research.
The areas surrounding Ealing, such as Brentford and Chiswick and Shepherd's Bush, we need to give context to our previous video.
So what we found in the run-up to March of 2025, in the 15-month preceding, the average number of sales transactions were 104 in the Ealing area. And since March of 2025, when they implemented all the tax changes, the average number of transactions dropped to 36, a fall of 60%.
Really unusual for an established West London market.
Yeah, it's just an absolutely monstrous one. So we wanted to see what was the impact. Is this the same, reflective across the wider West London marketplace? So this is what we then found.
That we were looking at, and I have to read this because the numbers are shocking. Acton down 54%, Shepherd's Bush down 62%, Chiswick down 60%, and Brentford down 65%.
That is a monstrous drop for each of the regions. But there was actually some green shoots of good news. And the green shoots of interest were the fact that since April, the transaction volumes for each of those areas have now been incrementally coming up. And so, albeit that we are still averaging not 60% off the average, we're now more around 45 to 50% off the average of the transaction volume. The marketplace is recovering, and that is a very, very good sign to see that we are seeing more transaction volumes coming through. We are still very much off the pace of where it was. This is now where it's all going to get a little bit interesting, because next week we have got the autumn budget. And with the budget for next week, we have seen U-turns pretty much every policy that has been floated by the government over the last 2 months. So we are still very much up in the air as to what is going to be announced next week in the autumn budget.
Be it good, bad, or indifferent, at least we're going to have certainty.
And certainty is very much a good thing in the marketplace. And even better was we just had the announcement that the inflation rate has just dropped down to 3.6, giving the Bank of England just a little bit more confidence to, fingers crossed, bring in another base rate drop just before Christmas.
Guys, if you like what you've heard today, please send us a message. We want to produce content that's valuable and helpful. So any suggestions or anything you'd like to see, please get in touch.
Many thanks for listening.